Happy morning, students. Blue Stars Higher Secondary School welcomes you all to learn the supplementary reader, 4th unit, with the photographer, which was written by Stephen Leacock. This is the story with the photographer. It's a humorously yet sharply speaks of the reality wherein the narrator's original features are distorted under the pretext of making them more appealing by an over-enthusiastic photographer, leaving the narrator pained and disgusted, as there is no resemblance between himself and the photograph. Before entering into the story, we are going to learn about the author, Stephen Leacock. Stephen P.H. Butler Leacock was born on 18th December 1869 at Canada. His education is in Upper Canada College. His career, he was a writer, he was a teacher, he was a political scientist. Some of his famous works are Sunshine Sketches of a Little Town, Arcadian Adventures, With the Idle Rich, Economic Prosperity in the British Empire, The Dawn of Canadian History, Moonbeams from the Larger Lunacy, The Unsolved Riddle of Social Justice, My Discovery of England. Some of the awards he awarded: Governor General's Literary Awards for English Language Non-Fiction, Low Spears Medal, and he was died on 14th November 1944. What specialty is on the day? Children's Day. Yes. Now we are going to learn about the author Stephen Leacock elaborately. Stephen Butler Leacock. He was an English-born Canadian writer. He was a teacher, he was a political scientist, and also a humorist. He was a polyglot, having proficiency in English, French, and German. Leacock's stories are masqueraded with humor and mainly revolve around himself and his life events. Mostly, he used to write his own life events. His works reflect a noticeable satirical element, a fine line between hilarity and absurdity. Leacock was also an educator, and this trait was clearly visible in all his literary and creative pursuits. He efficiently combined pathos with satire and topped it with subtlety and irony. He always saw humor as the ultimate expression of human kindness and progress, and during Great Depression, he attempted to soothe the miserable souls through his writings. Leacock was traditionally conservative, which was clearly evident in his satirical norm and the way he valued the community over the individual. Although people disapproved of his dependency on a lesser known genre, he remained devoted to his first love, humor. Now we are going to learn about his early life. He was born to Peter Leacock and Agnes Butler. So, his father Peter Leacock and his mother Agnes Butler. Stephen was the third of his parents' 11 children. So, totally they are having 11 children. So, Leacock having 10 siblings, that means brothers and sisters with him. He was the third of 11 children. His family immigrated to Canada on account of banishment from Manor House and settled on a farm in Toronto, Ontario. He was just 6 at the time, 6 years old. In 1878, under the influence of alcohol, his father abandoned the family. So he passed away. That means his father died. and travelled west to Manitoba along with his brother E.P. Leacock. What's his brother name? E.P. Leacock. He travelled west to Manitoba for earning money for their family. He was enrolled into an elite private school of Upper Canada College by his grandfather. In 1891, he received Bachelor of Arts degree (BA) from the University College, University of Toronto. In the same year, his first writing was published in the Varsity, a student newspaper of the university. In 1903, he was awarded a PhD at the University of Chicago, where he studied economics and political science. Now we are going to learn about his career. In 1894, his first humor story was published in a Canadian magazine. In the next few years, he had published more than 30 stories in various Canadian and American magazines. In 1903, he was appointed as a lecturer in McGill University, Montreal. He became the head of the Department of Economics and Political Science in 1908 and served until his retirement. In 1906, he published his first book, Elements of Political Science, which became a bestseller as soon as it arrived in the market. Soon his other books followed, namely Literary Lapses, 1910, Nonsense Novels, 1911, Sunshine Sketches of a Little Town, 1912, Arcadian Adventures with the Idle Rich, 1914, The Unresolved Riddle of Social Justice, 1919, My Discovery of England, 1921, Economic Prosperity in the British Empire, 1930, Humor, Its Theory and Technique, 1935, My Remarkable Uncle and Other Sketches, 1942. Two of his books were published posthumously, Lost Leaves and The Boy I Left Behind Me. What means posthumously? After his death, it was published. These two books were published in the year 1945 and 1946 respectively. He also published a series of articles in leading newspapers and magazines which earned his fame and reputation. Economic Prosperity in the British Empire, 1930, and My Discovery of the West, 1937, were among his finest articles. Next, we are going to learn about the awards awarded by Stephen Leacock. In 1937, he was awarded the Royal Society of Canada's Lon Pierce Medal for his academic work and contribution to the Canadian literature, particularly writing humor. And then his achievement in 1937, he won the Governor General's Award for his book, My Discovery of the West, a discussion of East and West in Canada, which was based on his experience gathered as a lecturer on his tour to Western Canada. Now, we are going to learn about some of his quotes. These quotes were said by Stephen Leacock. Now, the essence, the very spirit of Christmas is that we first make believe a thing is so, and it presently turns out to be so. A half-truth like half a break is always more forcible as an argument than a whole one. It carries better. Humor is essentially a comforter, reconciling as to things as they are in contrast to things as they might be. With the Photographer, it's a story written by Stephen Leacock expressing his own experiences with the photographer. The narrator, Stephen Leacock, went to the photographer to have a photograph taken. The photographer made the author wait for 1 hour. While waiting in the studio, the narrator kept reading the Ladies' Companion for 1912, the Girls' Magazine for 1902, and the Infants' Journal for 1888 at the photographer's studio. The photographer took him to come in and sit down. The narrator got angry because the photographer was commenting about the narrator's face. The photographer was pleased after he clicked a photo of the narrator in moments of animation. He was called on Saturday to see the proof of the photograph. On seeing the photograph, the narrator was shocked into silence. The photographer had made changes by removing the eyebrows and making adjustments to the mouth. The photograph did not look like the narrator. So the narrator was frustrated as the photograph did not look like him, which he planned to give his friends to keep after his death. He left the studio saying that the photograph was a worthless bauble. Worthless bauble means what? A thing of no value, valueless one. Before entering into the lesson, we need to see this warm-up exercises. What are the occasions when photographs are taken? Birthday parties, wedding ceremony, graduation day, inaugural functions, valedictory functions, tours, cultural programs, school annual day. Why we are taking photos? Why are photographs taken? Photographs are taken to freeze our favorite moments or for using official purposes like passport, driving license, voter's ID, etc. Or to show them to others, and then to relive the past experience, and then to keep it as an evidence. Now, summary of the story with the photographer. Stephen Leacock was a Canadian teacher, political scientist, writer, and humorist. The narrator in his short story with the photographer, he describes his experiences at a photo studio. Once the author went to a photographer, he wanted his photograph taken. The photographer looked at the author and said that his face was quite wrong. So what he did? He started to criticize him. Then he asked him to wait for 1 hour. He's waiting and then still waiting for 1 hour. After that 1 hour, the photographer came. After that, he started to criticize him. He's listening everything quietly. The author accepted that he knew that his face was wrong. The photographer added that it would look better if it was 3/4 full. He's making lot of things to make him angry. He also discussed various types of faces found in the world. He is discussing about the other faces found in the world. He is comparing. He is doing lot. The photographer wanted to take the best photograph and wanted to prove his photographic skill. So he took the author's head in his hands and twisted it this side, that side, this side, that side, left, right, like that. He twisted it sideways and looked at it. It made him very tired. He's not liking this. He didn't like the author's head, so he's doing everything like this, criticizing him. He asked him to open the mouth and then close it. He is asking, open your mouth. Then he is asking, close it, like that. He felt that the author's ears were bad, so he asked him to drop them a little more. drop them like that. He asked the author to roll his eyes up, no, left, no, right, no, down, like that. He is always continuously asking him to roll his eyes left, right, up, down, like that. He is always asking under the eyelids. To put the hands on knees, sit straight, sit like this, like that. Likewise, he is always giving some comments whichever irritating the narrator. 2. He asked him to turn the face little upward, up, like that. He is asking him to expand the lungs. He is asking him to bend the neck. He is asking him to contract the face. He wanted the best feature and expression of the author, so he took much time in all type of arrangements, suggestions and criticism. Each and every moment he is giving some other suggestion. For each and every arrangement he is giving some criticism. It makes the narrator angry. The photographer was continuously criticizing the author's face, as he felt that the face was not appropriate for a photograph. He was doing much. So the author lost his patience. The author felt humiliated. He was not feeling nice now. He couldn't bear the insult anymore. No, enough. I can't bear it more. He had lived with it for 40 years and he knew its faults. Though it was not beautiful, but it was his face, the only one that the author had. Thus, because of humiliation and unfair comments about his face, which were given by the photographer, the author was so angry with the photographer. He is not ready to wait. As the author started to rise from the seat, impatiently he started to rise up from the seat. No, I don't want the photo. The photographer took his photograph. Okay, sit down, I will take the photo. Likewise, the photographer came to take. At that time, the photographer looked pleased, as he had caught the features just in a moment of animation. What he said, he caught the features, but what he said just in a moment of animation. He is pleasing himself to make some changes in animation like that. Then the author wanted a photograph. For what he came to take photograph? The author wanted a photograph that would have looked like himself. He wanted something that would depict the face as God gave it to him. He wanted something that his friends might have kept after his death to reconcile them to his loss. So, he came to studio and wanted a photograph. But everything happened. But what the author wanted was not done at all. The photographer had almost changed the author's eyes, eyebrow, mouth, etc. The photograph never looked like the author's face. This is different from the author's face. So angrily he asked the photographer to keep the photo for himself. On Saturday, the author went back to the photographer to see the proof. The photographer showed his photo. Looking at it, the author was surprised, as the photographer made so many changes in his eyes, eyebrow, mouth, etc. He removed the eyebrows and retouched the eyes. The photograph did not look like the author's photo at all. So the author asked, "Is it me?" The photograph the photographer was a strange kind of person. He made so many changes in the photograph of the author's face that it did not look like his own. He removed the eyebrows and he had retouched the eyes. He wanted to fix ears all right in the print. There was a process then for removing the ears entirely. So, because of these actions, the narrator was very angry. Finally, he told to the photographer it was a worthless bauble. Bauble means a thing of no value, valueless one. Now we are going to learn about the glossary, which is helpful to us to learn and understand this short story easily. Drooping, bending. Unwarrantable, illegal, wrongful. Pursuits, gust. Frantic, mad, desperate. Grave, serious. Boundless, limitless. Seized, stopped. Trifle, bit. Staggering, shaking or vibrating. Animation, excitement. Beckoned, called. Superficious, surface or outer face. Withering scorn, disapproving hatred. Depict, show, give a picture of. Reconcile, to comfort and heal. Emboss, cause to bulge out. Bauble, a thing of no value, valueless one. Based on your understanding of the story, answer the following questions in 2 or 3 sentences each. Why did the author go to the photo studio? The author went to the photo studio to get him photographed. Describe the photographer. The photographer was a man with a bend on his back. He wore a grey suit and he had dim eyes. Bring out the significance of what Leacock was reading at the photographer's studio. He read some very old magazines like Ladies' Companion, the Girls' Magazine, and the Infant's Journal. All the magazines were old numbers and they had no connection with him. Why did Leacock assume that the photographer was praying? The photographer entered into the black cloth which covered the camera and then he was very quiet there. So he thought he was praying. How did the inner room get light? The inner room received the sunlight that filtered through a sheet of factory cotton. It was hung against a frosted skylight. Why did the photographer take a long time to photograph Leacock? The photographer thought that Leacock's face was quite wrong and he wanted to get a good photo out of it. He tried to make a lot of adjustments, so the photographer took a long time to photograph Leacock. What angered the author? The photographer asked him to adjust all the parts of body like ears, eyes, hands, face, etc. Finally, he said that still he did not like his face. This angered the author. Why did the photographer feel happy after taking the photograph? The photographer was happy after taking the photograph because he could click the camera at the right time with animation. Why did Leacock visit the studio on Saturday? Leacock visited the studio on Saturday because the photographer had asked him to come back on Saturday to see the proof of his photo. How did the author react on seeing his photograph? The photo did not resemble him, so he asked, "Is it me?" He showed his unhappiness to the photographer. What changes had the photographer effected on Leacock's face in the picture? The photographer had made changes in the eyes, eyebrows, and the mouth. What was the human side of the photographer? The photographer suggested some ideas to make his photo look better. That was the human side of the photographer. Why was the photographer proud to receive Leacock on Saturday? Was proud to receive Leacock on Saturday because he was about to show the photo in which he had used his talents and knowledge to change certain parts to make it look better. What was the only similarity between Leacock's face and the photograph? Only the ears in the photograph had similarity with his face. Based on your understanding of the lesson, complete the sentence given below to make a summary of the story with the photographer. The narrator went to the photographer to get his photograph taken. The photographer made the author wait for 1 hour. While waiting in the studio, the narrator kept reading some old magazines. The photographer told him to come inside. The narrator got angry because the photographer was going on criticizing his face. The photographer was pleased after the photograph had been taken. He was called on Saturday to see the proof of the photograph. On seeing the photograph, the narrator was upset. The photographer had made changes on his eyes, eyebrows, and mouth. The photographer did not look like the narrator. The narrator was frustrated as the photographer had made many changes to make the photo look better. He left the studio saying that the photos was a worthless bauble. Now we are going to learn about the paragraph answers. Hints given here in this question. What it is? Stephen Leacock's visit to the photo studio turns out to be an annoying experience for him. Discuss citing relevant instances from the story. Leacock in a photo studio, get his photo taken, kept the camera, serious look, commented on his face, instructed him, irritated Leacock to get up, clicked the camera, made many changes, keep photo for him. Stephen Leacock describes his experiences in a photo studio where he wanted to get his photograph taken. The photographer was a drooping man who looked like a scientist. Leacock waited for 1 hour and he was called inside. He kept the camera in the middle of the room and had a look at Leacock. He looked very grave and shook his head. He said that his face was not good and Leacock accepted it. He came out of the camera and adjusted Leacock's head and hand. Even then he was not satisfied. He asked Leacock to open his mouth and then he asked him to close it. He said that the ears were not good and gave a lot of instructions which irritated Leacock. Then Leacock angrily said that he was living with his face so fair and he loved it. As he was about to get up, the photographer clicked and the photo was taken. When he went to the studio again to see the proof, he was shocked to see that many changes had been made to make the photo look better. Leacock came out of the studio angrily, asking the photographer to keep the photo for him, as it was a worthless bauble. The second one, to me, it's a worthless bauble. Why did the photographer's touch of technical expertise appear a worthless bauble to Leacock? The hints given. Leacock in a photo studio, get his photo taken, kept the camera, serious look, adjusted face, not satisfied, commented on face, irritated, about to get up, clipped the camera, changed a lot, looked better, no resemblance to him, explained changes, angry Leacock, keep the photo for the photographer. Here, Stephen Leacock describes his experiences in a photo studio where he wanted his photograph taken. The photographer was a drooping man who looked like a scientist. Leacock waited for 1 hour and he was called inside. He kept the camera in the middle of the room and had a look at Leacock. He looked very grave and shook his head. He said that his face was not good and Leacock accepted it. He came out of the camera and adjusted Leacock's head and hand. Even then he was not satisfied. He gave a lot of instructions to adjust his ears, eyes and mouth. Leacock was irritated and said that he was happy to live with his face. And as he was about to get up, the photographer clicked and the photo was taken. When he went to the studio again to see the proof, he was shocked to see that many changes had been made to make the photo look better. The photo did not resemble like Leacock. The photographer explained that he had changed his eyes, eyebrows and mouth. They were retouched to get a better look. He said that he used modern technology to do such changes. Since it did not resemble him, it had no value for him, so it was a worthless bauble to Leacock. He asked the photographer to keep it for himself and his friends. Thank you.